complain, I won't complain.
The piece is called Poet Love, and it's originally based on a set of songs by the German composer Robert Schumann, which in turn was based on a set of poems by the German Romantic poet Heinrich Heine. We want to create a short film that tells the story inherent in these art songs, through these songs, through the music, and that works somehow in a genre that I haven't experienced before, somewhere between a music video and a long-form musical theater movie, but to find something new in between that in a 20-25 minute short film that tells the story. The story is a love story. It's about a young man who is in his early 20s, falls hopelessly in love with a beautiful woman he finds who is a performer. He sees her, it's love at first sight, and the two of them get to know each other and form a relationship, but his intensity, his over-emotional commitment to her eventually pushes her away and leaves him reeling and falling from this heartbreak. The songs and the cycle focus predominantly on what happens after the rejection and how he falls lower and lower into a sort of dream hallucinatory state and eventually comes out stronger and better and older. And at the end of the film, our poet, our artist, our character decides to turn this heartbreak into something positive, and he writes songs and performs them, which is essentially takes us back to the beginning of the film. Stories and the themes of this film are universal, are timeless, just like this music. It's about love, it's about heartbreak, and it's about processing that heartbreak and becoming a stronger person as a result of your experiences. I think that classical music in general, and specifically art song, unfortunately is very restricted in terms of how an unsophisticated quote-unquote audience can get into it. The art song recital as a format is very old-fashioned and it's very inaccessible. Songs are performed in foreign languages, they're performed under very flat concert lighting, singers are standing still, they've been taught to stand still and not really directly engage for the most part with the audience. And a lot of these songs and a lot of these poems are immediately emotional and direct and meant to be performed, meant to be brought to an audience. And I know that in my generation, it is not a thing that people do to go to an art song recital unless you are living and working in the classical music world. So it's very important to me to preserve this music and bring this music to audiences that no longer grow up with it, no longer know it, no longer experience it on a regular basis. I'm a trained theater and opera director. I've been working predominantly in theater and opera for the past 10 years. I'm currently on the faculty at the Juilliard School. I work with the graduate students in voice. I also teach with the Young Artist program at the Metropolitan Opera, and I've worked and directed at several companies, professional and educational, throughout the country. Bridging the gap between classical music and theater and musical theater as a way of an immediate naturalistic expression of emotion and text is something that is very much a part of my everyday work and something I'm very interested in. I was lucky to grow up with classical music in my life as a child. I know a lot of peers of mine, a lot of friends of mine did not have that experience, and watching them grow up, I've seen that classical music is not a part of our society and is not a part of my generation's experience of art anymore. So finding a way to bring classical music into the 21st century, into media that 21st century people experience, video, film, online, is something that I think is essential for classical music to survive into the next generation and become a part of our lives. Which is why this project, from a classical music perspective, is so important and is essential. And in order to produce this, we're dependent on the support and the visionary support of people who recognize that classical music in its current state is not in a position to renew itself and to reach a broader audience that has unfortunately moved past it. We want to make this film in as professional and in as beautiful a way as we can possibly do so. We owe it to the music, we owe it to the material, and since we are embarking on a very adventurous expedition into a new form of film and a new form of classical music performance, it's especially important that we do it very well. So in terms of a budgetary process, we need to raise money in order to pay for professional performers, professional camera, equipment, crew, locations, all of the things that go into making a high quality film.
I cried while I was dreaming. I dreamed that you